For more on this story, we can bring us Agnès Callamard, Secretary General of Amnesty International. Thank you very much for joining us here on France 24. Now, the Taliban has been in power for nearly 2 months now. How has the human rights situation in Afghanistan changed in that time?
Well, it has changed dramatically, but particularly on 3 issues, I will say. It has changed on the question of freedom of expression, freedom of the press. Before the Taliban, there was a very vibrant media community. It is gone. It has tremendously changed when it comes to the status of women and women's rights and the girls and girls' rights. Your reporting already demonstrated that the situation of women and girls has deteriorated to a very large extent. The ideological framework of the Taliban means that women cannot have freedom of movement, women are prevented from working, women are prevented from accessing certain form of higher education, girls don't have access to secondary education, and that is only within the first months of Taliban rule. And then the third area where the Taliban has had a very negative impact is on the right of minorities, whether we're talking about the Shiite religious minority or the Hazara. Altogether, it is a very negative, dramatic country that we are looking at the moment.
Okay, so a lot has happened in the past 2 months. I want to ask you, do you think it's possible to even conceive of improving the humanitarian situation on the ground in Afghanistan without recognizing, formally engaging with the Taliban?
Absolutely. And I have to say, this is done regularly by humanitarian actors. They intervene in countries where armed groups are in control of a territory, and that does not mean that the armed group is recognized by the international community. So for me, it's a fake problem. The question is whether or not the international community is prepared to go ahead with humanitarian assistance without recognizing the Taliban. And of course it should. There is no real quid pro quo there.
But why can't there be a quid pro quo? Why can't we say, if the Europeans say, listen, we'll give you this, let girls go to school. We'll give you that, let women work. It should be that. It can be that simple.
If that's what you're talking about, I could not agree with you more. I have absolutely no doubt that the international community has far more leverage upon the Taliban than they are telling us at the moment. They have leverage around recognition. Let's put that aside. They have leverage because the Taliban need humanitarian assistance. They need financial support. The country is on the brink of a complete collapse. So the international community has leverage, and they should use those leverage for the protection of women, for the protection of the population in humanitarian needs. Why isn't that activated? I think is a question that we need to ask the international community and members of the G20.
And given that the international community, as you said, has the upper hand, shouldn't it be involving states like Qatar to do more, to arm twist the Taliban, to do more? Because we know that in Qatar, for instance, girls can go to school, women can work.
2 things. One, I will not go as far as to say the international community has the upper hand. I will just say that they have
leverage. Okay.
They have leverage upon the Taliban. Second, how we do it, of course, the most important dimension, I think, of that moving forward is to try to have a united position on the Taliban. And unfortunately, as you pointed out earlier, that united front is not there because Russia and China are pursuing a different route. This being said, countries are present who could provide assistance or intermediaries or mediation. But the most important dimension is that the international community, the states that are committed to human rights and to humanitarian assistance must be insisting on bringing forward that language and those demands to the Taliban and not let go of them in the name of, let's say, counterterrorism or in the name of, let's say, preventing migration flows, which is something that I am certainly fearful of.
You mentioned how the security situation has worsened over the last 2 months in Afghanistan. And just last week, the UN Human Rights Council passed a resolution to create a new special rapporteur on Afghanistan to, probe violations carried out by the Taliban. In your view, does this go far enough?
Not quite. First of all, as an ex-special rapporteur myself, I can assure you that we don't really have the resources or indeed the method of work to carry forward such an important mandate as that of Afghanistan. Second, I understand the resolution has attributed to that special rapporteur additional resources, I believe 6 staff to work with the special rapporteur. So it's a good step, but that's not sufficient. We at Amnesty were calling for a fact-finding mission. We were calling for a presence on the ground. We were calling for a much more expensive and extensive monitoring and reporting mandate, which is what Afghanistan needs given the state of the country. Look, it is a first step, so we'll have to work with that first step and try to, over the next few months, ensure that it can deliver as much as it can for the sake of the people of Afghanistan.
Agnès Callamard, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you.